Ya.
Silakan Mas Andi.
Ya, baik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Afternoon, everyone, and how are you?
Fine.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah bi alamin asyhadu alla ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna muhammadar rasulullah rasulun nabiyya ba'da. All praise to Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Alhamdulillah, in this this golden moment, this golden moment and very good opportunity. Allah give us opportunity to be in a Zoom room, and we would like to have a discussion on an issue that coming up in Indonesia. It is gross violation of human rights, the killing of the 6 Habib Rizik Shihab guards by TP3. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we start our session, I'd like to just remind you all to rename your Zoom name according to template, your media first, and then your name. Kami menghimbau para peserta untuk mengubah namanya dengan format bila Anda jurnalis, media, kemudian nama. Okay, alright. Ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu sekalian, let's start our session with singing of Indonesia Raya. But before that, I'd like to extend my warm welcome to all participants and moderator, and also we have distinguished speaker today. Masya Allah, kita kedatangan pembicara yang luar biasa hari ini. Ada 6 orang tokoh yang tanpa dikenalkan pun kita semua sudah mengenal beliau, karena memang karyanya bertebar di mana-mana. Juga moderator kita, Pak Heru S nanti. Baik, let's start with singing of Indonesia Raya. Thank you. And before we start our session, let us pray to God. May He bless us with rewards, for all the good deeds for today. Doa starts now. Okay, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today is a book discussion on the gross violation of human rights, the killing of 6 Habib Rizik Shihab guards. So what is white paper actually? The white paper is translated as a book that contains certain statements, usually classified in nature, has never been disclosed and is considered the revelation of truth. Jadi kita akan diskusi mengenai sesuatu yang mengandung pernyataan yang dari sumber-sumber terpercaya begitu, dan classified in nature. And also a white paper is basically an authoritative report or guide that addresses issues and explanation as rebuttal or refutation to the policy or the performance of certain institution. Okay, the writer of this book, we give them appreciation because it's not easy ya. It's from the supervisory and monitoring team atau tim pengawal peristiwa pembunuhan 6 pengawal Habib Rizik Syihab, better known as TP3. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have 6 speakers today, and each speaker will be given about 15 minutes. And at the end of the speech, we're gonna have Q&A for those who would like to pose a question. Please do so in the chat by following the format. If you're a journalist, yeah, from the media, and then your name, your true name. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to invite our special moderator today, Mr. Heru Nuswanto, SHLLM, MSc PhD. He graduated from FHUI S1 and then Masters of Law from Northwestern University, Chicago, USA, Magister from Ilmu Kesejahteraan Sosial, Social Welfare, Visit UI, and he got his PhD in Human Rights and Peace Studies, Mahidol University, Bangkok, Thailand, and he is a PhD researcher in victimology from Tilburg University, Netherlands. Further, he is also advocate and founder of LBH Paham. Brother Heru Susetio, the stage is yours.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Andi. Good afternoon everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon all of us, insyaAllah. Siang untuk yang saya hormati, Honorable Dr. Fadli Zon, Honorable Kiai Haji Muhyiddin Junaidi, Honorable Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah, Honorable Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua, and also Dr. Wirawan Adnan, and also Pak Marwan Batubara. And I also see my colleague from Malaysia, Mr. Azril Muhammad Amin from Center for Human Rights Advocacy, Research and Advocacy from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much for Pak Azril for participate to this webinar. Actually, for today's program, according to, we have heard from Pak Amin, our today's topic will be the TP3 Book Review or TP3. Tim pengawal. Actually, this group actually would like to disclose, to open the mystery between the killing, the extrajudicial killing, or the unlawful killing of the 6 Habib Rizik Syihab guards, which actually took place in kilometer 50 of Jalan Cikampek, Jalan Tol Cikampek, kilometer 50 on 7 November 2020. Actually almost 9 months ago, or perhaps 10 months ago, and there is no clear development whether the suspect, apakah tersangkanya sudah diproses atau tidak, karena sudah 10 bulan berlalu, kunjung ada berita yang baik, apakah sudah ada tersangka yang kemudian diproses hukum oleh pihak kepolisian, kemudian pihak kejaksaan, di catatan yang sangat serius sampai sekarang. Jadi mengapa lahir buku ini? Karena ada ketidakpuasan, karena ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang sangat mendasar. Mengapa sampai sekarang belum tertangkap juga atau belum diproses hukum juga para tersangkanya? Ataukah sudah ada tersangka atau belum pun juga tidak jelas. Sementara pada saat bersamaan, at the same time, there are some suffering actually happened to the 6 families of the victims. Inside this book, there are some stories about the family of the victims, about how the victim actually coming from, from the lower class family, but they love the Habib actually unconditionally. That's why they they are actually glad to guard Habib Rizik before and during the incident on 7 November 2020. And without further ado, because actually lack of time, we just started at 20 minutes past 2 p.m. and we have only around 2 hours for this webinar or for this book launching. So I would like to invite Dr. Marwan Batubara as actually among the initiator, among the men behind the gun who actually created or initiated this book, Buku Putih or the White Book. After that, I would like to invite Dr. Fadli Zon, and then Dr. Kiai Haji Muhyiddin Junaidi, Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah, Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua, and also Pak Wirawan Adnan. For Pak Marwan Batubara, the floor is yours for 10 minutes. Pada Pak Marwan dipersilakan untuk berbicara, memberikan kata pengantar, introduction untuk book launching ini, book review. Sebenarnya ini bukan book review yang pertama, sudah ada book review juga di dalam bahasa Indonesia. Sekarang untuk halayak yang lebih luas, international book review actually. For Pak Marwan, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Heru. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada para peserta webinar yang sebetulnya kami mengundang staf dari sekitar 50 kedutaan, kemudian wartawan, jurnalis yang tergabung di dalam JFCC, Jakarta Foreign Correspondent Club. Mungkin di klub tersebut ada sekitar 30-an wartawan, termasuk kantor berita. Lalu Pak Heru juga mengundang teman-teman dari LSM atau NGO yang bergerak di bidang HAM. Jadi pada prinsipnya memang undangan ini kita harapkan untuk bisa dihadiri oleh kalangan yang berasal dari luar negeri, karena kita mendapat informasi bahwa informasi yang tersebar di luar adalah bahwa para pembunuh itu punya hubungan dengan kegiatan terorisme yang sebetulnya sangat sama sekali tidak benar, dan nanti bisa dibuktikan atau dilihat dalam buku yang sudah disiapkan, dicetak baik bahasa Indonesia maupun bahasa Inggris. Saya coba sedikit mengantar konten buku ya. This book is composed by supervisory and monitoring team of the murders of 6 Habib Rizik Shihab guards, yang tadi sudah diperkenalkan, better known as TP3. This book is published by Forum Keadilan, copyright by Majalah Forum Keadilan. In the spirit of a book as a white paper, this book laid down facts and critical analysis that strengthen the conviction and stance or belief of TP3 that the murders of the Sikh guards was not committed by the police alone. However, it systematically involved the armed forces and other mysterious state apparatus. This white book reveals many facts and analysis that have never been published by mass media, especially the mainstream media. This book answers the general question about how and who should be responsible for the crime. We believe that the murder of 6 guards is an extraordinary crime that meets the criteria as a crime against humanity. The murder constitutes a crime that qualifies as the gross violation of human rights. The settlement of these grave breaches of human rights must be through the Human Rights Court under the law number 26, year 2000. This book constitutes the response to the challenge extended by President Jokowi, whom we from TP3 meet on 9 March 2021 at the Merdeka Presidential Palace in Jakarta. The challenge was to produce evidence, information, and study results related with the murders of the 6 guards. At the time, Mr. Jokowi also promised to handle this case in a transparent, fair, and acceptable manner. So far, we assess and we believe the government has shown unwilling and unable attitude to resolve the case through the Human Rights Court. This is what we believe. By this, we may consider or assume that the president has shown hypocrisy. It seems he fails to follow his own principles and expression during the meeting. TP3 on 9 March. No wonder why the student union called him the king of lip service. This book, including this webinar, the TP3 book review, are part of a series of TP3's effort to find and reveal the truth through deep research and evidence based on writing. At least instead of hearing only from one side, especially from the government as well as from Komnas HAM, you as the participant have the opportunity to also get this information from TP3's book. By this, you could have the complete picture of the case. Finally, we hope and ask all of you to join TP3 in advocating and resolving the crime against humanity through human rights courts. Thank you for your attention and support. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much for Pak Dr. Marwan Batubara as the man behind the gun. Actually, is a good organizer for this. Actually, not just for this book launching, but for the whole process. Pak Marwan adalah mungkin orang sangat berjasa ya untuk kemudian dengan kepedulian yang luar biasa juga mengumpulkan teman-teman sekalian yang concern dengan adanya pelanggaran HAM berat ini atau gross violation of human rights. Pak Marwan juga mengatakan bahwa telah terjadi pelanggaran HAM berat ataupun grave breaches to human rights or gross violation of human rights, dan telah juga menjumpai Presiden Jokowi bersama para anggota TP3 yang lain juga dengan Pak Amin Rais pada tanggal 9 Maret 2021 di Istana Merdeka, dan Presiden pun memberikan memberikan saran supaya diadakan investigasi yang mendalam dan untuk mengungkap kebenaran, dan inilah hasilnya. So the White Book on the gross violation of human rights in regards to the killing or extrajudicial killing of 6 Habib Rizik Syihab guards. Oke, thank you so much Pak Marwan Batubara. Kita akan melihat apakah proses ini akan berlangsung lancar menuju pengadilan HAM atau tidak, menuju pengadilan, karena sampai sekarang jangankan pengadilan HAM, pengadilan pidana pun belum berlangsung. Ya, jangankan lagi pengadilan HAM, pengadilan pidana ataupun pengadilan umum pun belum terjadi untuk perkara ini. Apalagi pengadilan HAM dan pengadilan internasional. Nah, kita akan meminta tanggapan, saran-saran, komentar dari para pembicara sekalian dan juga ibu bapak sekalian yang kami hormati. Baiklah, tanpa berpanjang kata, kami mengundang Bapak Dr. Fadli Zon selaku anggota Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat dan juga banyak membantu dan banyak mensupport advokasi-advokasi untuk orang-orang yang terzalimi. Dan beliau juga adalah Ketua Badan Kerjasama Antar Parlemen di Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat Republik Indonesia. Bapak Dr. Fadli Zon, dipersilakan waktunya 10 menit.
Terima kasih Pak Heru. Thank you very much, Moderator, Mr. Heru, and my other colleagues from the panel, the speakers. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon for all of us. It is an honor for me to deliver my views and perspectives on the TP3 White Book, Gross Violation of Human Rights, Killings of 6 Habib Rizik Shihab's Guards. So I think this book is a testament to our effort on advancing civil participation to the human rights enforcement, as this is the fundamental principle of democracy, and in which the system guarantees the rights to assembly and association, freedom of opinions, freedom of expression, and most importantly, the rights to information for the citizen that demand accountability and transparency. So I also deeply appreciate all the efforts of the supervisory and monitoring team of the murders of 6 Habib Rizik Shihab's Guards, or we call it TP3, for having investigated and published this white book so that everyone can see things objectively, not just follow the one-sided news or claims made by the authorities. First, how the government has failed to ensure the safety of its citizens. In this regard, we see that Habib Rizik has been active in sending critics toward the government. This condition has made him to be considered as a threat toward the government. In the realm of democracy, critics are something justifiable, yeah, and should not be seen as the threat. So, however, in this case, we see that the government has failed to protect the safety and security of its citizen who seems on the different side, in the other side. So I see it frightening because it brings back to our old history during the old order or Order Lama, and even in some part of the new order or Order Baru, when government could easily silence those who criticize them. So even worse, this act of unlawful killings can be happen to everyone who criticize the government. And I believe the government must be aware on how their restrictive policies will surely bring harm than good to our democracy. Second, I see that all actions targeted HRS or Habib Rizik have been planned, and this involves various authorities. I'm saying this based on the facts that even the authorities have claimed themselves. For instance, when the Indonesian police claim they followed HRS and their teams as the purposes of investigations, which led to the incidents that where shots took place. Since HRS arrival on the 10th of November 2020, last year, and as reported also by TP3, and I think I saw also Habib Rizik a couple days after that, there have been various efforts that show this alleged planning, such as criminalizing HRS due to some events held, such as Maulid Nabi commemorations and his daughter's wedding celebration, with heavy sanctions. So meanwhile, at this range of time, we see that there are so many public crowds held during social restrictions, and yet they are immune from any sanctions. Just to name some examples, such as the president's son Gibran, who enjoyed public campaigns in a crowd in the city of Surakarta in November 2020. And it is a shame that contrary to what the police has claimed over Habib Rizik's case, the institution claimed it was the different case, as Gibran's case was part of justifiable campaign procedure, and it was not the police responsibility. So another case, for example, was Basuki Cahaya Purnama, or Ahok, along with many artists who enjoyed singing in the crowd without wearing masks, and again, they are free from any trials. So COVID-19 has revealed how weak our democracy and law enforcement are. To some extent, some policies implemented during social restrictions are not merely aimed at protecting the civilians, but they are used as the tool by the government to hit those who are on the different side. Besides, it is also shame to see how government is using their institutions in this regard is through Indonesian Financial Transaction Reports and Analysis Center, or PPATK, to block the 92 bank accounts of those whose Habib Rizik and his families. So PPATK claimed that they did this due to the allegations of money laundering that HRS and his families and organization, FBI, have done in accordance with Law Number 9 of 2013 on terrorist financing. In fact, if we take a look on the law itself, blocking the bank account can only be done to any suspected terrorist groups or organizations whose names are on the list of terrorism suspects and terrorist organization, or Daftar Terduga Teroris dan Organisasi Teroris, DTTOT. Are HRS and their families and organizations terrorists? Of course, the government cannot answer this and give public the transparency on the basis of their own sided claim. Intelligence operations are not something new in this country. In HRS case and all allegation addressed to him and his family, I am of the view that the government is exercising their power, especially through the tools of power that they have. Our country has witnessed that Islamic organizations have been on the list of the national intelligence operations. Some media officials such as Tempo have also released the documents of some BIN agents captured at Megamendung. On the TP3 White Book, there are also some reports about the evidence that intelligence operation against HRS and his families and organization are real, such as some reports from Kabinda DKI to Kabin and Wakabin on the situation pertaining to HRS arrival, including their analysis that the return of HRS has sparked sympathy and support from the various dakwah groups, in which the situation will potentially lead to the attack to the government policies that are double standard. On the one of the letters addressed to the Kabin, as I read in the TP3 White Paper or White Book, has also wrongly accused HRS for having intended to impeach the Indonesian National Constitution and change it to the Islamic Ummah. This claim is indeed baseless. During the court, HRS consistently answered all questions related to Pancasila by his bold statement that HRS and his organization, FBI, has no intention whatsoever to replace Pancasila to other ideology, because Pancasila itself represents the Islamic teaching and values, and it is the legacy of the Indonesian ulama. In contrast, have we ever tried to look at Papua on how there have been so many actions carried by some figures, such as Beni Wenda and other militant groups who kill people, attack public facilities, and even declare to independence, as well as raising their own flags. Yet they all enjoy the status quo. Even Beni Wenda, for example, was in exile, and our government cannot do anything to bring him back to Indonesia and being sentenced due to his actions. The government seems to be inconsistent in their law enforcement efforts, and this surely leads to a distrust from the people. So another thing that becomes my concerns is when some members of TNI overlap their duties by taking down the banners of HRS when they conduct such security patrols in Petamburan, Jakarta, under the command of Maijen Dudung Abdurrahman. And now he's promoted to be a 3-star general. It is also a shame to see that he appeared in the press release of the killing of 6 HRS guards, while at the same time, he also urged to dissolve FBI. And in fact, none of these actions are TNI's responsibility. During the press conference, the TNI and Indonesian police always claim that all sharp weapons belong to FBI members. And this goes on and on in all media, so that people are forced to believe in one-sided news, in which its validity is often questioned. FBI is not an armed organization, and they never been trained to attack people, unlike police, who are always armed and be ready to attack at any time. So, as the time goes by, publics seem to forget all of this case. Komnas HAM, or the Human Rights Committee investigation, seems also to be powerless in a way they can ensure justice to be upheld. Their investigation seems also to be in line with the police investigation. If I may say that Komnas HAM's role is not significant, as they cannot portray the both sides' claim, facts, and investigations. And their investigations simply strengthen the police claims. So now, without the rule of law, participation of society, independent courts, transparency, and justice, the promise of human rights may remain just that, a promise unfulfilled. Our government needs to step up its commitment to human rights. Critics should not be interpreted as threat. What the government must educate the citizen is that the realm of democracy, critics are the elements that will build the democracy, not to destroy it. Furthermore, at the national level, the efficiency, impartiality, and independence of the judiciary should be guaranteed and respected by all institutions and actors. Public trust and confidence in the judiciary are important for ensuring democracy to be respected by everyone. So I believe that inclusive democratic societies will build stronger communities when all individuals and groups, regardless the ability, gender, or identity, fully participate in human rights enforcement. They contribute to stronger governance for their nation. Terima kasih atas undangannya. Saya ucapkan juga selamat kepada penerbitan buku dalam bahasa Inggris, mudah-mudahan mendapatkan audiens yang lebih besar di dunia internasional. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much for Honorable Dr. Fadli Zon as a member of the Parliament, for actually very inspiring speech in regard to this launch of this book. If I can recall that Fadli mentioned that this is very political arrest, political actually trial, political trial, and also the indictment very political, and also the punishments also very political. Banyak kerumunan yang tidak diproses secara hukum, giliran untuk HRS diproses bahkan dipidana, dan juga pembunuhan terhadap 6 pengawal beliau juga tidak diproses secara layak, bahkan tidak ada kabar berita sampai sekarang. Ini menimbulkan ketidakadilan. Dibandingkan tadi dengan kasus Papua itu jelas satu tindak pidana terorisme. Terorisme bahkan tidak hanya tentara dan polisi yang dibunuh, tapi juga tenaga kesehatan perempuan juga dibunuh oleh KKB. Namun sampai sekarang tidak disebut teroris, disebut terus kelompok kriminal bersenjata, tidak disebut sebagai kelompok teroris. Kalau sudah jelaslah terorisme itu sangat terjadi di Papua. Harusnya disebut sebagai kelompok teroris Papua. Terima kasih Pak Fadli. And I would like to invite another also important speaker. I would like to invite Dr. K. Haji Muhyiddin Junaidi as the Vice Chairman or the Wakil Ketua of Indonesian Council of Ulama, Wakil Ketua Majelis Ulama Indonesia. Untuk Pak K. Haji Muhyiddin, dipersilakan untuk 10 menit. Tafadhol, Mas Guru.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillahilladzi wa kafa wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ahlus sidqi wal wafa. Qala Allah Ta'ala fi kitabihil karim, a'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. May yaqtul mu'minan muta'ammidan fajaza'uhu jahannamu khalidan fiha wa ghadiballahu alaihi wa la'anahu wa a'adda lahu 'adzaban muhina. Shadaqallahul azim. First of all, I would like to thank to all the speakers who participate at this virtual meeting. Brother Fadli Zon, to my understanding that he has been very actively involved in discussing so many interesting topics, as sometimes we can call it a very critical topic. Thanks very much for his enlightening speech, and I do believe that he has prepared his own speech very well, since he has been in the parliament for more than 15 years now. Honestly speaking, when we talk about the gross violation of human rights, the killing of 6 Habib guard or bodyguards, is really hurting all of us, not only members and leaders of supervisory council, but all Indonesian people who live and who love peace. All Indonesian nationality, whether they live here in Indonesia or overseas, they are with the same idea that they really express their own disappointment to the government in handling this issue. So you can imagine this gross violation, what we call is the killing of the innocent 6 guard of Habib Rizik, took place almost a year. And we have been given the report by the police that they have already discovered around 3 suspects, the killers. But until today, no action so far has been taken. even after announcing the name of 3 suspects, and one of them passed away due to the road accident. We have no idea at all who he is. This is really a political motive. Politically, the killing of the Sikh is politically motivated. So, as long as it is political incident, so we don't have any what you call any hope that no matter how good and how active we are in discussing the matter and making lobbies with all elements of society, whether it is representing the Islamic organizations or the government or the parliament members, yet it is very hard for us to put more pressure on the government to disclose the real suspect. We, on behalf of the Islamic organization, especially the Indonesian Ulama Council, of course, we have the same opinion with our supervisory council of the TP3. We have already made so many statements, and we have made so many demands, whether it is to the government or to other members of the society. But unfortunately, until today, the police still have no idea on how to answer our demand. And they pretend that as if they know nothing. They always try their best to find out apologetic reason behind this unlawful killing to the innocent guard of Mr. Habib Rizik Sihab. So once you look at from the Islamic point of view, the killing of innocent Muslim is considered from Islamic perspective as the great sin in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Especially until today, there is no what they call official statement from the government, even the police, telling and explaining about the real motive behind the killing. They are always trying their best to fabricate the issue. They try to cover the issue with so many what they call fabricated issue to the public. This is really a shame on the government. Whereas wherever we are invited to give speech in international forum, we always talk about the norms of democracy, and the real democracy has been practiced in Indonesia. So democracy is compatible to Islam. We always talk about the positive things of our government. We hardly discuss and disclose the negative one. But very unfortunately, domestically, we face so many terror, so many what we call is hoax news. So whenever we criticize the government policy with regard with handling and managing the governments, they always accuse us of being the real provocators. Whereas our main intention is to enlighten the people. And today, we can see so many ulamas and intellectuals of Indonesia, though they know what is going on behind the killing of innocent Sikhs, guard of Habib Rizik Sihab, but yet they remain silent. they don't want to speak up. They prefer to keep silent because they are afraid of missing and losing their own source of money and source of income. Probably they are afraid of losing their own job. This is the biggest mistake. So we as a Muslim are obliged to speak up, no matter. Sometimes to say the truth have got so many and heavy consequences. But it is the revelation of Allah. It is the instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But very unfortunate, so many ulama, so many learned and knowledgeable Muslim in our country, and now they prefer to be the real partner of the government. They just want to be to keep themselves safe. They don't want what they call is now is a safety players. So in this regard, Majlis Ulama Indonesia, Indonesian Ulama Councils express its own concern about the very slow response from the police. And yet, so many letters, so many demand has been submitted to the police and the government. Until today, we haven't received any official letter. And what we want today is the government announce the name of the suspect behind the killing of 6 innocent Habib Rizik. But until today, they just speak up, they just say, okay, they promise to the public they are going to disclose and they are going to take them to the court. But until today, there is no hope for us. I could say if the response is so slow, then we will probably take another option to keep more pressure to the government, especially to the let the families of the innocent people know that the TP3 has been doing their own job at for the sake of the family. Then of course we will never be what we call is frustrated, because frustration in our religion is strongly forbidden. Yet we keep on discussing the matter. We keep on sharing our information. The latest one regarding the killing of the 6 innocent guard, hopefully there will be some response sooner or later. The second point that I would like to raise at this particular meeting and discussion is that all the people involved in the law makings are morally obliged to find out the best solution of this problem. Otherwise, our image at international forum will be tarnished. And thirdly, we will never give up in helping our brothers and sisters in finding the real justice. Yes, as a matter of fact, in our country, you can find so many offices of the courts, of the criminal courts, of so many what you call pengadilan, yeah. But it is very hard for us to find and to get a justice in real term. Once again, on behalf of myself and on behalf of Indonesian Ulama Council, we urge once again to the government not to play with this issue, because the more you try to keep yourself away from disclosing the issue, then the more dangerous it will be. And the people, of course, will lose their trust. And then after 2 years, then we'll be having a general election. Of course, those who are involved and the parties who support the killing of these innocent people, of course, will be losing our competition. At last, thank you very much. Sekali lagi, saya terima kasih banyak, dan kita malu kalau sampai kasus ini tidak bisa diselesaikan, baik itu di tingkat pusat ataupun di tingkat daerah. Bagaimanapun akan merusak nama baik Indonesia di forum internasional. Whereas we have been campaigning since the last 12 and 15 years that Indonesia is one of the biggest democratic in the world. Very unfortunately, we are against the practicing and implementing the norm of democracy within our country. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much for Dr. K. Haji Muhyiddin Junaidi. Actually, very clear message, clear speech has been delivered by K. Haji Muhyiddin. So actually, everyone who are responsible actually must be taken into account, must be held to justice, brought to justice. But unfortunately, until there is no clear answer, no clear process. That's why we need more efforts. We need to, let's say, to put more pressure to the decision-making process, decision-maker, how to bring those offender to justice. So, actually, a clear message delivered by K. Haji Muhyiddin. Jelas sekali pesan dari beliau supaya ya semua yang bertanggung jawab harus segera diproses di negara ini. Thank you, terima kasih. Selanjutnya, we will have Ibu Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah as Associate Professor Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Indonesia. Kepada Ibu Dr. Chusnul, dipersilakan. So the floor is yours for another 10 minutes. Dipersilakan kepada Ibu Chusnul.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Dr. Heru Nuswanto as moderator, and for distinguished speakers and all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The former speaker is already completed the analysis and the response. So I tried to give some very short comment. There is two things that I would like to state it in my talk. The first thing is this book, actually, the translation from the Indonesian version, and this is the English version. Actually, in Indonesian version is more dramatic, because it's a lot of picture, and when you read with all this picture, make you very sad and make you very angry. However, this translation in terms of the what is called like a books with full of data, argument, analysis, methodologically and substantively, is a very important for even for students, and I think it's a lot of with a legal based analysis. Even though, you know, this is what I would like to give some of a comment in terms of so what and what can I and we do after we already produce this book. Pak Marwan and the team already do all this. They did research, interviewed, and it's a lot of work already put it in order to wrote these books. The second thing, you know, the background of this book, you know, the political condition of this book is related. Actually, it's not only just in this book, they called it like the chronology prior to the killing, prior to the shooting. They not only just a killing, they shoot the the unlawful killing, in kilometer 50. And prior to that is related to Habib Rizik Shihab. If you're talking about what's his politic behind of this thing, yeah. If you're talking about all this election 2017, the Jakarta local election, governor local election, and the opening of the civil Islam 411 and 212, especially, and then the discourse. The government always, the regime always claim that the Islam is not tolerant, the Islam is not Pancasila, the Islam is not Bhinneka, something like that become, every day that we seen on the newspaper and so on. So again, that also against the background of the global politics, if you are talking about after 9/11 and then all this Islamophobia and then the war on terror related to finally the change with counter-violence extremism, and then with a policy on de-radicalization. So it's all this against the political background like that. So it's not only just, killing 6 Habib Rizik Squad, like the Laskar FBI, something like that. It's not like there is some political relation in a more broader context. So the government or the regime or all of the supporter of the regime always talking about we are in democracy. They have the legitimacy to rule. But the problem is the legitimacy is not only just because of you won in the election, but post-election, you have to prove about the policy, including, if you're talking about democracy, there is 3, at least there is I always use 3 variable in it, There is a competition, and in the competition, excluding the use of force, don't use military, police, just to, what is called, to dismiss all this opposition, including the parliamentary opposition and also non-parliamentary opposition. If you're talking about where we put Habib Rizik in the political context, Habib Rizik is a symbol of non-parliamentary opposition in this case. So we are talking about competition with excluding the use of force. We are talking about full participation. So it means that all this group citizens in this country can, they have a right to control the regime, something like that. And the third thing is civil and political liberties, the freedom of expression, freedom to organize. So this is also related because after that, FBI, the Islamic Defendant Front, is already disbanded, something like that, without, legal decision, without from the court legal decision. So this is also a problem if we are talking. This is my question to Pak Marwan afterward. Where are we going after this? Are we going to the legal-based approach, or we are still talking about with a political-based approach, using these issues because this is like a political action? I think we don't trust with a legal-based approach afterward. And what happened with the regime? Use all this, use the apparatus, using the coercion, using the hard power to what is called to dismiss all this opposition. To whoever who against the regime, they put it in jail. So this is also, the political condition that we have after this. Even though, the regime claimed to have legitimacy to the election, and the policies to protect the people is already failed. So if you're talking about, 6 people, but if you're talking about the citizens, the people who were killed, it's not only just 6 HRS Habib Rizik Squad. We have a problem also during 2019 election, because more than 700 election workers were died, and we don't know what happened until now, and there is no condolences from the government who won in the election. And then also the tragedy 21 and 21st and 22nd of May 2019 in Bawaslu. There were like 10 people who were shot during that tragedy. So, and also 500 were in detention. So it's a lot of, actually, from one issues to another issues to another issues. So we have a problem whether our democracy is still on the track, or our democracy is already, some international scholars stated that democracy in Indonesia is already like regress or in danger. But for myself, I think the democracy is already tends to be the authoritarian now. It's not in democracy. So what can I do and what can we do? You know, we need, you know, if you're talking about why it seems the government is more, or the government or the regime is feel like it seems they're happy. They're happy with all this situation, whether this is part of by design or not by design. You know, if they are happy with all this condition, because why? Interlocking to maintain the power in 2024. You know, with for the power struggle in 2024, it seemed that the regime is more protective to the group who are considered to, between quote, non-Muslim, or considered to, between quote, new communism or whatever, rather than to the majority of the people of Indonesia, the Muslim group. So that it seems like that. What's going on with all this situation? You know, the issues of ulama put it in jail, ulama were killed, ustad were killed, and of course there is some ulama who are also pro with the regime. So this is also that we have our problem at this moment. So to conclude with all this situation, if the government, you know, like the government should not produce conflict. They are the arbitrator of all this situation. It's supposed to be like that. But for power, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupt absolutely. This one is not really absolute power, but already corrupt in terms of the justice, what the people feel. So if you talk about the credibility of the regime, if they don't do anything and they feel happy with this situation, I think the low trust, you know, of the government, I think that we have a problem on this. And the second thing, do you think this is not part, if the government just feel happy, this is not part of the state terrorism? They're always talking about behind all this is terrorists, but you're talking about non-state terrorism. And what about state terrorism? Because they use coercion, they use apparatus, yeah, to ransacking the opposition, between quote, something like that. So if this is like a political action, so we have to solve with the politics also. You know, like what Habib Rizik actually already proposed about revolusi akhlak. If Habib Rizik also already stated that one, but there was no response for the regime. Yeah, response from the regime. So again, you know, leadership is very important. So this is opportunity for us, you know, to fight about the justice, to fight to get justice, and as a fighters, like justice fighters, you know, if you're as an activist, you have to have two things, yakin and sabar. So Pak Marwan, congratulations and all this group. This is very important, and we have to explain more to all the world. But the problem with the global politics, there is some still international or global hegemony of the power, and usually it's not what is called like a positive way in terms of the Islamic group preferences. So, but I think we still have God, we have yakin and sabar. Inshallah. Nasrul minallah wa fatarib wa basiril mu'minin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much for Ibu Profesor Chusnul Mar'iyah from Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, TAS Indonesia. Actually, I got the main point that I like to stress from Ibu Chusnul speech that actually Chusnul asked to Pak Marwan as chairman of this team, where are we going now? Where will you go after this? Do we trust legal approach or we must render to political approach? So are we going out after this? A very critical question, I think, very critical question, because we have seen that this is totally more political rather than the justice process. So instead of legal approach, I think, or we think political approach must also be taken into account. And other things to be addressed that Ibu Chusnul mentioned the state terrorism or terorisme negara. Jangan pernah selalu mengatakan terorisme hanya berasal dari aktor-aktor non-negara. Ada kalanya negara juga menjadi teroris. Mungkin kalau kita tidak sebut negara Indonesia, kita sebut negara Myanmar teroris bagi orang Rohingya, negara Kamboja zaman Pol Pot teroris bagi rakyatnya sendiri, negara di Serbia zamannya Milosevic juga membantai rakyatnya sendiri dan sebagainya. So state terrorism is not a myth, it's actually
Indonesia.
I have no idea Indonesia. No idea. Perhaps Pak Abdullah can answer this, because next speaker will be Pak Abdullah Hehamahua. So thank you, Ibu Chusnul, for this inspiring speech. And we would like to invite Pak Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua for the next speaker. Because Pak Abdullah actually among also the main initiator of this book, of this team. And Pak Abdullah also the team leader, and Pak Abdullah also meet with all the victims and the families inside the kampung-kampung around Jakarta area. So Pak story about the victims and their families. Pak Abdullah, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As one, I to remind all of us that the incident at kilometer 50 in Tol Jakarta Cikampek last year cannot we see as the incident itself, but it is just one phenomenon from the politics scenario in Indonesia. Other side, I will inform you that the matter of 6 HRS guards was a collaboration of rotten politician and black oligarch or businessmen, all of whom supported the Jokowi regime. This is a fact. As Professor Chusnul Mar'iyah talked us just now, that in the 2015, when Jakarta election, theoretically, we must say that Ahok must be win. Why? Because from a financial point of view, Ahok is supported by 9 dragons and other black businessmen in Indonesia. From political perspective, Ahok is supported by the president, all of cabinet, and 95% of political party in Indonesia, including Islamic Party, which you know as TP3. In fact, what happened in 2015, Ahok lost and Anies Baswedan win. Why? Because HRS and 212 peoples go down to the Jakarta masjid, mosque, and musalla, and super active give the campaign. The defeat in the Jakarta governmental election resulted in Jokowi coalition losing hundreds of trillions of rupees, especially when Anies Baswedan come as a governor. He canceled the Tanjung Priok reclamation project, in which tens of trillions of rupees had already been invested of coalition of Ahok. With that background, the Jokowi coalition is looking for a way to corner, to troublesome, even to kill HRS and his supporters. Let's say it started with a slanderous chat, as if HRS had done it with the Indonesian woman. Actually, we know that law enforcement officer, especially for police, cannot took HRS in jail. However, the collaboration of the authorities didn't stop slanderous HRS, so that HRS had to move to Mecca. Subsequently, when HRS returned to Jakarta, he was imprisoned on charges of violating health procedure, such as Mr. Fadli Zon told us just now. The son of governor, the son of Jokowi, when campaign in Solo, and his grandson in Medan, nothing to done by police. The incident at kilometer 50 on Jakarta-Cikampek toll was an attempt to kill HRS. However, as we know, HRS was able to avoid being trapped by the police, and the risk was carried out against the 6 Laskar the HRS got. For myself, as Mr. Moderator told us just now, I know the family of 6 guards. By myself, they are special men, the special Muslim. That's why I can tell us they are shuhada. In conclusion, the murder of HRS bodyguard or guard is a legal murder that has been politicized for almost a year. It is not clear who they respect, the suspect of the murder, where while HRS and the assistants were immediately arrested, tried, and imprisoned. So for this moment, I want to tell us that Indonesian people and the international humanities world, if the Jokowi government is not brought the human rights court, believe me, the Indonesia will become a barbaric country where corrupt rulers and politicians as well as black businessmen collaborate and colonize the Indonesia people. That's why I think this moment is very urgent for us. Lastly, as the chairman of TP3 and Brother Marwan Batubara as secretary, even he is the backbone of TP3, plus Brother Wirawan Adnan as special lawyer in TP3. I want to thank for all of you to attend this program, and I hope all of you and us can continue in the other event to encourage the background of this event, and we bring out Indonesia to the best country, masyarakat madani. That's all. Thank you. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Terima kasih banyak to Bapak Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua. Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua is chairman of TP3 or TP3 and also former special advisor for KPK or Indonesian Anti-Corruption Agency, and also former chairman of Himpunan Mahasiswa Islam. Last but not least, we still have one more speaker. Actually, the last speaker for today is Bapak Wirawan Adnan. He is a lawyer actually and a legal expert, and among the members or in human rights perspective of this white book. For Pak Wirawan Adnan, the floor is yours for 10 minutes. Silakan, Pak.
Thank you. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
May the blessing of Allah be upon you. Greeting everyone. May peace be upon you. I just have a little bit of a criticism to Pak Moderator here. For Pak Moderator addressing Pak Marwan as the man behind the gun. I don't think that's a good idea. Under the circumstances, I do not think that's a good idea. So, because it can be easily confused that he is involved with the killing of the 6 guards. because to this date, they were killed with a gun, and we cannot find who are really the men behind the gun. Right? So you point out Marwan is the man behind the gun. So he is not, Moderator. He is not. He is the man behind the book. That I can agree. Anyway, but for Pak Abdullah, he addressed him as the backbone of TP3. That I can agree. Anyway, okay. Anyway, honestly, I do not have a speech prepared, because I was under the impression that I was invited to review the book. So that is exactly what I will be doing. And having read this book, I found that this book is very astonishing. This is what I call a revelation of truth. However, I can't help to notice that reading this book, the English version of this book, I found several, if not many, grammatical errors. I mean, I'm sorry to say, that's what I found. But we can easily understand, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone here that that is acceptable, because we believe that the author of this book is a non-English speaking author. So I think we can understand that. But anyway, I found that the message is very clear, crystal clear, in fact, and it was very comprehensible. So all in all, I would like to praise this book, and I certainly had, this book had enlightened me. And basically, what we are reviewing is a white paper, or a white book, if you may, right? It fascinated me the way it is presented. It's, what I say, it's an authoritative report. My personal assessment of this book is more of a guide which provides narratives and addressing that the killing of the 6 HRS guards are not an ordinary crime. That's, I think, it's the main focus of this book. And this book in general describe that it is a hideous crime. I guess in one simple sentence, I would like to say that reading this book, we will understand that the crime qualify as a crime against humanity. Like most speakers have pointed out it, because it qualify as a gross, qualify as a crime against humanity. So it is a gross violation of human rights. Although the authority or those who are in or currently in power wants all of us to believe that the killing were committed in self-defense. That's what they want us to believe. But if you read this book, it will convince you otherwise. This book is basically, I mean, I think someone have said earlier that this book is basically a rebuttal or refutations to every statement, to every argument, to every report, to every, well, not every, just all I know, there was one investigation, and even legal proceeding issued by the authority. It's a rebuttal, it's a denial to that activity, which if by reading this book, it will convince us, or convince all of us, I believe, that all of those activities are just a deception. The study and research, which basically what this book is all about, is a testament that the authority is trying to conceal or to cover up, to conceal or to cover up those who are responsible for the killing. So reading this book provides a clear direction that gross violation of human rights has been actually committed. Again, I would like to repeat, it's a clear direction. We do not have the authority to prove, because those are the job for the penyidik or for the police. We just do the study. So this what the book is telling us. All the informations and studies, I found it to be very authentic and originals, if you may, which I believe, I mean, I think previous speakers have said this before, has never been published before. It is presented in such a manner that this book, this white book, it can easily be used as the basis for our Komnas HAM, our National Commission on Human Rights, to immediately conduct a pro-justice investigation, which is really a mandatory investigation that never been done before by the Commission. So that's basically my review on the book. Then I take a look at chapter 2. But you know, overall, this is the version, the Indonesian version. There are about 500 pages. But the English version I found about about 100 pages in the book. So it's the English that's efficient that it can reduce the pages to a lot less. I do not know, but I think Chusnul Mar'iyah, I think you are right that the Indonesian version is more dramatic. And then you read at chapter 2, it narrate and elaborate the criminal element, what we call the element that the crime is systematic, right? And it further, the chapter 2 elaborate that. And then if you review the chapter 3, it's what do you call comments or annotation. The title is Annotations of Komnas HAM Report. Now, I believe this is interesting. This chapter is interesting. I mean, you should review. If any of you have not reviewed thoroughly, please read chapter 3. The book, this book, the White Book, shows that the report made by Komnas HAM is just a justification of the official statement made by the authority. So they just, this book tells us that Komnas HAM is clearly sided with the authority when they should be a body, suatu lembaga which has to be neutral and impartial, which they do not. The report they call investigation. This what the book suggests that legally is only a monitoring report. So it's not an investigation. This is what I found in the book. So personally, I believe this is deceitful, or at least is an attempt to deceive the public. So no wonder there is misconception in the public eye in general that the Komnas HAM have done their job. I think that is a misconception, when in fact, in their report, it has no merit. And there is no legal foundation of what they're doing. Therefore, what the Komnas HAM has done is not actually an investigation, but merely a monitoring activity. That's all covered in chapter 3. Therefore, regret to have to come up with my thought here that it is deceitful that Komnas HAM uses the title investigative report when legally it's only a monitoring report. Therefore, the monitoring activity carried out by Komnas HAM does not qualify as an investigation. Thus, it does not earn the title pro justisia. Pro justisia itu bahasa Inggrisnya apa ya? Pro justia, the right. I think it loosely translates the right to enforce law. Pro justisia. Pak Heru, maybe you can help me with the correct translation. Pro justisia, the right to enforce law. I think that's what the best I can come up with. Well, Komnas HAM, in their report, I mean, I see the report. Where's my report? This was the report from Komnas HAM, and I received a copy from the man behind the gun.
No, not from me.
He said that he received it officially, right, Pak Marwan? He said that he received officially from the office of Pak Mahfud. In that report, they did not invoke law number 26 year 2000, but they invoked law number 39 instead, which this book suggests it was intentional. It's intentional. It was deliberate. Why? Why was it intentional? Why do I believe that it was deliberate? So to avoid the path of leading to human rights court. That is what this book suggests. This is the analysis of this book. Now, moving on to chapter 4, we will see the analysis and the legal opinion of this book. But basically, it concluded that the killing are systematic, involving not just the police, but state apparatus, mysteriously state apparatus. That's what they did not point out anyone who is a real person or a real institution who is responsible, but the book only described a state apparatus. But it does describe the element that there is an element of command responsibility which require and to qualify to meet the element of systematic. In this chapter 4, it also invoked Article 42 of the law, the law number 26, and confirming that Komnas HAM still need to conduct investigation based on law number 26, 2000. The involvement of Jakarta Territorial Military also was cited by in this chapter, Pangdam Jaya. Their involvement, it was said in the book that they have no legal standing to be present in their activity. So this further indicate that the killing were systematic. The claim that they are in possession of legal weapons, the firearms and sharp weapon, is preposterous. That's what this book is trying to tell us, because there is no proof, no fingerprint was ever found on a weapon. The book confirmed, this book confirmed that it's a fabricated evidence. It's a fabricated physical evidence. And the book also concluded that about the killing, which they claim it was a self-defense, again, which they claim it was self-defense. The book is telling us that is one big lie, because there was no witness. Only the killer themselves are the witness to this crime. Their testimony, or when they are trying to testify to exonerate themselves. See, this is universally unacceptable for someone who is being accused to be the killer or to be the offender, or testifying against themselves to exonerate themselves. This is universally unacceptable and not recognized as the rule of law. If anything, it is against the law of any country. Even for undemocratic country, they do not practice law that way. What is fascinating is the recommendations that when proceeding through human rights court, they should involve the member of the civil society in the proceedings, because the law facilitates, the law number 26 facilitate, introduce what they call ad hoc investigator, ad hoc prosecutor, and ad hoc judges, with the possibility that TP3 and the man behind the gun can participate in the justice system. So I guess this is to reflect the transparency and the fairness that was promised by President Jokowi when we made a courtesy call at Istana Merdeka. I guess I have exceeded my time, Pak Heru. I'm sorry, 5 minutes, but I appreciate the time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much, Pak Dr. Ahmad Wirawan Adnan. Actually, very clear message had been delivered by Pak Adnan, and I'd like to emphasize what Pak Adnan mentioned, that the man behind the gun is not clear yet. The man behind the book is quite clear. Yeah, I did some mistake actually. The man behind the book actually is Pak Abdullah Hehamahua, and then existed by Pak Marwan Batubara, Pak Adnan, and other people here. But the man behind the gun is unclear. Actually, the books Pak Adnan mentioned about the chapter 3 told about some facts or some evidences, but So actually quite a clear direction. So he didn't choose the word the evidence, but the clear direction that it can be said as a gross violation of human rights or pelanggaran HAM berat. And Komnas HAM actually must have the duty to conduct the pro-justice or pro-justiciar investigation, not just monitoring, not just fact-finding, but pro-justice investigation, because it can be followed with another indictment actually delivered by kejaksaan or by the prosecutor, and finally brought to Human Rights Court. But of course, this is not easy because it needs the cooperation and clear intention from Human Rights National Commission or Komnas HAM. And Pak Adnan also mentioned about this book is actually the revelation of truth. The revelation of truth, or how to reveal, mengungkapkan kebenaran, how to reveal the truth to the world about the mystery on 7th of December 2020, with the killing, the extrajudicial killing, not just the killing, but the extrajudicial or unlawful killing to the 6 members of the guards of Habib Rizik Shihab. And then the authority seems to conceal or to cover up this operation, because what he mentioned that the man behind the gun is not clear, even though actually the police or the Komnas actually can, if they can lead the clear investigation. So actually, we believe that those who are responsible will be disclosed or will be unboxed. But unfortunately, until now, there is no clear intention about how to bring the responsible people to justice. And Pak Adnan also mentioned that there are some deceitful behind this case, and some people try or tend to deceive the public, and that's why they would like to present or to provide this book as a revelation of the truth, so people may read, people may understand, and people will about how or what happened behind the case or behind this. We don't say this as an accident, but because accident is different with a gross violation of human rights. Incident is just a kecelakaan or just musibah, but this is not just musibah. This is just kejahatan HAM berat or grave breaches to human rights. Okay, everyone, Ibu Bapak sekalian yang saya hormati, we still have around, let's say, 15 minutes for respond, question, and answer from the floor. I like to, Pak Andi, the MC mentioned that the participant, you can post your question through the chat. Is there raise the question or comment? Please feel free. You still have 15 minutes. From Suud Amira Al-Hamid. The killing of civilians at kilometer 50 is an extraordinary human rights violation, but why does the government seem to not care about the tragedy proven by the slow hand case? Pembunuhan yang terjadi pada kilometer 50 adalah suatu pelanggaran HAM yang berat, namun mengapa pemerintah seperti tidak begitu peduli tentang tragedi tersebut dan malah cenderung melambatkan penanganan kasus ini? Is anybody would like to answer this question? Perhaps Pak Adnan or Pak Marwan or Pak Abdullah or everyone, feel free. Pak Dr. K. Muhyiddin or Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah.
I think better Mr. Ahmad Wirawan Adnan.
Yeah, please, Pak Adnan, you may reply to this question.
Well, I guess the response, if you read this book thoroughly, I guess my response is why? Well, because there's clearly they have interest, as it said in this book, because they are trying to conceal, they are trying to cover up who is really responsible. That's why, or to be very careful. And as earlier mentioned by Abdullah and also other speaker, because of political reasons. So it's all about politics. Well, when it should not be the case, it should not be about politics. from my perspective, this is clearly about the law. This is, I mean, it's a simple deal. You know, all you have to do is prosecute. All you have to do is for the Komnas HAM to initiate investigation based on law number 26. They have to invoke that law. They have to invoke that law in order to bring those people responsible for the killing to justice. So, why? Because as we know here, Komnas HAM did not initiate the mandatory investigation. That is my response. Thank you, Pak Moderator.
Thank you, Pak Adnan. Quite clear is the answer. Another question. Yes, Pak Marwan. Yeah.
I can add to that what Mr. Wirawan already mentioned. We suspect, or I can say we believe, that since the government involved in the crime, then of course they will not proceed to reveal the case until the court. So as Mr. Adnan already mentioned, they just try to cover up the case so that finally people will forget the case and the mastermind will still alive and will do another political agenda, especially if we are talking about they call it Islamist or they call it radical, but actually we believe that this is the intention of the government, not to reveal the case, and that's why I already mentioned why we call the president is hypocrite. Yeah, because he just mentioned this, but actually what he means is the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Marwan Batubara. Is there any other comments or questions? Please feel free to raise your hand or type or write to the chat. Silakan bagi Ibu Bapak yang ingin bertanya bisa bisa mengacungkan tangan melalui emoticon pun reaction di bagian bawah Zoom atau langsung melalui diketik di bagian chat. Or perhaps before other people ask, I would like to Pak Abdullah dan juga Pak Marwan, in regard to Ibu Chusnul Mar'iyah question, where are we going after this? Mau kemana setelah ini? Where are we going? Perhaps Pak Abdullah or Pak Marwan bisa menjawab, where are we going after this? Mau kemana setelah ini? Instead of legal action, is there another political approach, let's say?
The first one, we try to socialize this book either in Indonesian people or international people, especially for whom they concern about the human rights. The second one, you know that this problem is a political mission to cover by the law approaching. So that's why I always said some times ago that HRS may be free in jail or prison until 2005, until the press close, and either Jokowi or another person from this coalition is a new president, because this is a problem serious. That's why it is, I think it is the moral action, because sometimes I think either the many iblis in the Indonesia, or they trust people, the true people, not speak, not talk to the either another people or the government. So that's why if we refer to Ibrahim case, I think the first one, we just try to give our commitment for Indonesian people, to human rights people, and let's for the people how they result their possession in the political possession or the economic possession or the human rights possession or the other possession. Just I conclude that we just try socialize this book. After that, we give for or let for people try through this moment. I think like that. Maybe Kiai Muhyiddin.
Thank you, Abdullah. From my point of view, that the struggle is not yet over. So we must uphold our principle of istiqamah. That now we have to disseminate information to the international community and our Indonesian community that we don't trust anymore with the government. So with that, a very clear point. So there is no negotiation. So if the government keeps silent and does not want to hear our voice, then also we say openly to the public, no, we don't trust the government anymore. So 2024 is very close. So inshallah, in the future, we don't know who is going to be the winner in the coming general election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua dan
I want to add a little bit.
Yes, please.
Yeah, actually, we have identified and discussed what to do next. Before, yeah, already identify and discuss. But we, I think, before that, need to consolidate, because it is talking about work, maybe money, maybe time. So I hope TP3 can consolidate itself or themselves how to follow up matters that we already identified and discussed before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Marwan Batubara. So actually, yeah, I do agree with Pak Muhyiddin Junaidi that this is not final yet. There are many things to go and many things to do for the next. How to create, just to reveal the truth, reveal the justice, need more process, actually, both local, national, international, as well as regional efforts. There is actually another question from the floor. I saw a question from Pak Robi Kuma just at the chat. He asked that in Indonesia, for cases involving the police, the perpetrators are always the executor in the field, but never touch the instructor or the boss or the man behind the gun, the giver. Those who order this never touch. Only, let's say, only the kacung, only the field officer, not the man behind the gun. And specifically for this case, how do you get those who give orders to be prosecuted, so that this can be an example and improve the bad image of law enforcement in Indonesia? Actually, very good question. how do you get those who give orders to be prosecuted? And actually, this is not the job of us. Actually, the job of the legal apparatus, right, from aparat penegak hukum. But I believe that TP3 have assisted the aparatur penegak hukum how to find those who are responsible or all vendors or the violators. But I will let the TP3 to answer this question. Perhaps Pak Adnan or other.
I can take this question.
Yeah, please. Please.
If you read the last chapter of this book, there is recommendations. Okay, one of the recommendations, and I think it's the only recommendations provided, and it's narrated in the book. It is clearly suggested or recommended that Komnas HAM, to bring those responsible to justice, Komnas HAM should initiate, and we all, as a member of the society, should encourage Komnas HAM to initiate the mandatory investigations invoking law number 26 year 2000, not law number 39. If they do that, we will get closer to justice. That's what this book suggests. Thank you.
Yeah, actually quite a clear answer from Pak Adnan that actually the bola or the ball is in Komnas HAM. And Komnas is under the president actually, because they have the responsibility, have the rights to find the truth, to create the fact-finding team and to investigate according to the law number 26 2000, or to create let's say tim penyidik pelanggaran HAM berat. Penyidik pelanggaran HAM berat is belong to Komnas HAM. So this book suggests that the government or the president must give instruction to Komnas HAM to create this kind of investigation in order to reveal the truth and the justice, and then brought the evidences to the prosecutor, and they create and or follow it up by send the evidence to Human Rights Court or Pengadilan HAM. Thank you, Pak Adnan. Any other answer from the floor, from the speaker, or question from the floor? We still have 10 minutes left until 6:15. Sorry, 4:15. Ada pertanyaan lagi? Pertanyaan, komen? Silakan. Silakan Ibu Bapak sekalian, apabila ada yang ingin tanyakan, boleh dalam bahasa Indonesia, boleh dalam bahasa Inggris. Masih ada tambahan dari para pembicara? Oh, saya juga ada Pak Budi Bawadi. Pak Budi barangkali dari pelajar doktoral di UIK Bogor. Ada yang mau ditanyakan barangkali? Tidak ada. Silakan Pak Budi, masih di mute Pak Budi.
Well,
yeah, please Pak Budi.
Short answer only.
Yeah,
and now in our country, democracies die. Just that.
Yeah, democracy is die. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Even though people still believe that Indonesia is the third largest democratic countries in the world after India, USA, and then yes, we are the third, because China is not considered as democratic countries. But yes, democratic is die. It's not just for this case, because what Ibu Chusnul Mar'iyah mentioned, that too many political indictment, political stigma, those who are addressed called as radical or terrorist, actually it's not really radical, not really a terrorist, but because they come from different group of people or political opponents. So like today is 1 Oktober every year, actually before during Orde Baru, or we celebrate this as the Hari Kesaktian Pancasila, and yesterday we celebrate as Hari what you call it, G30 PKI. And I still remember when I was a child, when I was in SD and elementary school or junior high school, I always come with my friends, go to the theater to watch the movie Pemberontakan G30, but not any longer. There is so the peringatan Hari Kesaktian Pancasila is not really sacred any longer, and so I'm worried that people will gradually forget about 1 October or with 13th of September. And on the other hand, the term radical or the label of radical or terrorist actually addressed to specific people who are actually not really terrorists, but not really extremists, but because they're different or they always critique to the current government or the current regime. Oh, Ibu Chusnul, perhaps do you have any other words for this?
May I ask some?
Just
silakan Bu Chusnul.
Yeah, I think the problem is because Indonesia is the third biggest, we call it, after 2004 election, Indonesia is the third biggest democratic country in the world. However, the problem with Indonesia is we are considered as the most populous Muslim country in the world. After the Glasnost and Perestroika, after the what is called post-Cold War, then Islam become the opponent, and then we have if you are talking about the Washington foreign policy, and this is part of all this, what I call it, the hegemony of liberalism and so on and so forth. So the contestation on that, then one of them is like considered to have a leader who can just become like what is a puppet leader in this issue. So that's why the discourse that we have, unfortunately, HRS, Habib Rizik, is considered as the symbol, is a very strong symbol of Islamism or civil Islam. So that's why it's not really what is called like this is the difficulties that we have. In one sense, you are not allowed to include what is called religion in politics, but actually in political science, we just call it as preference politics. It's not political identity that's considered by the regime. So that's why actually it's just afraid of the power behind the Habib Rizik, because I think Islam has a very strong, I think Pak Muhyiddin can answer from MUI, because we have jihad. If there is just injustices, Islam become the value is Islam become is of course revolutionary, because against injustices. So that's why this is part of the political game actually after post-Cold War, Glasnost and Perestroika, and then now become Islam. So that's why the issue, I think it will be continued, and it's depend on the political power we have in this country. So as an activist, I think you have to have a sabar and istiqomah Pak Muhyiddin. There is to be istiqomah and sabar to fight against all this shaitan or hantu. I don't know, maybe all these things, but we have to believe because we have a God. So, Pak Marwan, pokoknya sabar. We are always supporting all this for the value. Yeah, we fight for the better of Indonesia in the future.
Amin, inshallah.
Yeah, I want to question
please, Prof.
Chusnul, yeah. Prof. Chusnul already questioned TP3. What the next to do? On the other hand, I think we TP3 need advice from you. What is what are the actions that we need to do so that we can combine what we already identified, we already discussed, with the one that you will suggest to us? Then
I think first of all,
Yeah.
we have to have scenario. What
Okay.
what actually you would like to achieve? You know, the legal base, the political approach, the legal base approach, the political approach, and also the what I call it like a values, need, interest based approach. So it's not only just one, you know, with the legal based approach. And I think we knows very well. I have been in the court also. I don't believe it all this court thing, you know, because I have like 3 years that we have to be in a court, in a political, in a police interrogation, and so on and so forth. So this is a problem of our court in Indonesia. It's a very corrupted institution. So but at the same time, Pak siapa tadi yang lawyernya, Pak Ahmad Wirawan.
Yes.
I think still, you know, there is some scenario in legal-based approach, there is scenario in political approach, and also there is scenario in dialogue, you know, dialogue and dialogue, like Pak Muhyiddin mentioned before, you know. I understand, you know, by translating this information to the more global audience, we hope that there is some, you know, that some people will understand what's going on. But unfortunately, what I call it, you know, the global politics is not for with Islamic activism. So this is also, but you know, istiqomah, sabar, and yakin. So mixed scenario, Pak Marwan. At least three. And also I forgot, because actually when I give a talk during the Indonesian version, I also mentioned about the women perspective. So what's a women perspective? It's a dialogue with a non-violence, and also the ideas to bring the mother of the 6th guard, you know, of the 6th Laskar FBI. It's also very important issues, because what happened if the young boys actually your own child? So it's just bring all this emotion and with non-violence activism, I think is really, really important for next. So make a scenario.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah. Actually, very quite clear answer, and also plan that we, instead of sabar, of course, we need sabar, of course, because what we face now is actually not just legal regime but also political regime.
Sabar doesn't mean you just
stay inside our house.
Submit.
Sabar doesn't mean it's sleep.
Submission to the will of Allah is not sabar.
Sabar, and also yakin usaha sampai, I think. Yakin usaha sampai. And also I do agree with Bu Husnul that we must also cooperate with the victim's family, with the ibu, with the bapa of the victims.
Yes.
The victim are actually still young, and some of them are actually the breadwinner, pencari nafkah utama di keluarganya. They earn only 1 million a month, or even less than 1 million a month.
Yes.
500,000 a month actually is not enough, but they are the breadwinner of the family. Then now they were killed because of the men behind the gun, whoever they are, and there is no legal responsibility from the state or from the police. Actually, they must get compensation or restitution from the state or from the offender. Unfortunately, there is no court until now. Okay, I also read from the chat, good idea, suggestion made by Pak Fuad. He mentioned that perlu dibuat roadmap untuk menggaungkan masalah ini ke dunia internasional. Zoominar ini sebagai pemanasan untuk internasional, untuk seminar selanjutnya. Undang badan-badan HAM internasional dalam pertemuan berikut. It's a good idea. I think I do agree for this. And Pak Marwan, Pak Azril from Malaysia told me before he left, because he has another actually appointment after Ashar, and actually he proposed to bring this case to Human Rights Council, not Human Rights Court, but Human Rights Council in Geneva, because this member state party of ICCPR, and there is Human Rights Council, and we have our responsibility to send the regular report to Human Rights Council, and we as a people, as a citizen, can also initiate or can send the report, submit the report to Human Rights Council as an alternative of state report. And next year there will be a UPR, or Universal Periodic Review. Every 4 years, every state, the member state of the UN are actually reviewed by the Human Rights Council in the UN in Geneva, and Indonesia turn will be next year, 2022. Setiap 4 tahun sekali negara-negara anggota PBB itu direview laporan HAM-nya, dan tahun depan adalah jatah Indonesia. Dan laporan dari LSM bisa diberikan sebagai alternatif selain laporan dari negara. Dan jadwalnya adalah bulan Maret tahun 2022. Sehingga apabila warga masyarakat ingin mengajukan laporan tentang HAM versi masyarakat, itu tentu bagian yang sah, yang legal, bukan tidak bertentangan dengan hukum, bahkan dijamin oleh hukum internasional karena kita juga adalah negara anggota PBB. Jadi semua ikhtiar bisa dilakukan, legal approach, political approach, or social approach, everything actually is possible. So instead of yakin and sabar, but also the strong effort politically and also socially. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, can we conclude this Zoominar, or is there another question or comment before we conclude?
Just conclude.
Conclude, yeah, because
I think it's enough because the time asar.
Yeah, betul. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for all the speakers, for Ibu Dr. Chusnul Mar'iyah, for Kiai Haji Muhyiddin Junaidi, for Pak Dr. Abdullah Hehamahua, for Bapak Dr. Fadli Zon, for also Bapak Ahmad Wirawan Adnan, Pak Marwan Batubara. Hopefully this Zoominar, webinar, or whatever of the book launch or the book review of this will open the opportunity to bring this case to justice, both nationally, regionally, and internationally. And we do hope that people will understand more, not just simply call this case as the act of terrorism. Marwan mentioned that perhaps other people think that this is the act of terrorism, so we don't need to take care. They are terrorists. How come they are terrorists if they cannot have the chance to defend themselves because all of them were killed on 7 December 2020? Gimana bisa mereka tidak punya kesempatan buat membela diri karena mereka sudah dibunuh semuanya. Tidak ada saksi yang tersedia kecuali mereka yang telah membunuh, dan ini satu bentuk ketidakadilan, unlawful killing dan extrajudicial killing. Oke, semoga Allah SWT, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, memberkahi ikhtiar ini. So hopefully God bless of all us and actually facilitate us to bring this case to justice, both in Indonesia or overseas. And terima kasih banyak atas perhatian Ibu Bapak sekalian. Mohon maaf lahir batin Pak kami selaku moderator, dan kami kembalikan kepada pembawa acara. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you all. Jazakallah khair, especially for our prominent speakers, all speakers, and also our moderator. Very strong point and fruitful discussion, I think. Hopefully, what we call it, the jihad, the effort to reveal the adil, yeah, the justice continue on. So this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, I think. Thank you all, and thank you all. Should we have for the session?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, please, camera on, please. Okay, camera on.
Mr. Taufik.
I'll count to 3.
Oke. Ya, Mas Andi sudah masuk. Bentar, Wan. Aduh, jarapin bentar ya, Pak.
Okay. Finish.
Okay.
One more.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And on behalf of the committee of book discussion today, I would like to extend our thank you to all participants, and especially for the speakers. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay.
Next event.
See you again.
Thank you again. Jazakallah
Thank you,
khair.
Kiai.
See you soon.
Bye, Kiai. Bye-bye.